What's up, my beautiful family? It's High Energy Tuesday. Let's go. This week and over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be in the storm series. Everyone goes through a storm in life. Everyone has been through something difficult or challenging in life that has just rocked the boat in a sense. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit because it's important to go through the process of unveiling and discovery as we go through the storm. Whether that's after the storm and a point of reflection, or whether that's during the storm and focusing on the work in order to get to the other side of that storm. A storm is a disturbance in the atmosphere. Although there are heavy winds and rains that come during the storm, there are also some good things that are taking place during the storm. Sometimes it's a cleansing for the land, or sometimes it's nutrients that are being spread across the many plants and species so they can continue to thrive. There are many good things that come from it. And what can you gain from the storm itself? What's on the other side of that storm? But to really get to a point where we're talking about the storm and what goes on in the storm, I want to tell a little bit of a story. God is so good. I don't know if y'all even know, but I want to talk about one of the storms that I went through years ago. Years and years ago, I went through a divorce, and in order to get free, because we're created to be free, in order to get free from what I would describe as a psychological nightmare or state of abuse, I had to walk away from everything that was familiar to me. I had to walk away from everything that I had worked so hard to build. And I did it with a suitcase. And what's funny about this is that during this time frame, there was a house that I was working on. It belonged to my parents. And I would go over there and I would cut the grass. Although nobody lived there for about 5 years, I would still take care of the outside of the home, cutting the grass, getting the weeds off the house. I didn't do any work on the inside at that point, but I had somewhere to go. That house had been vacant for somewhere between 5 to 10 years. Nobody was living inside the home, but I took care of the outside end. And so as I arrived there in the middle of the night, in the middle of the winter, I go inside and it's cold in there. It's freezing in there. There's no furniture in there. There's no electricity. There's no running water or any of that. And so I had to wait until the next week in order to get all that stuff turned on. But during that time frame, I still had to go to work. I remember laying on the floor that first night and just reflecting on everything that had just taken place and just thinking about how can I move forward? How can I make progress? And I didn't know, I didn't have an answer, but I woke up the next morning and I remember the sun rising and just having this warm feeling. And just knowing that I just had to focus on the work. I had to do the job that I was charged with, and everything in turn would follow. Everything in turn would work out. There would be a positive side that came out on the other end. And so I didn't just lay there in sadness. I didn't lay there in depression. I picked myself up. There was a lot of cleaning that I had to do inside. There were a lot of replacing of things like the toilet, the vanity, the floors. There was so much work that had to be done that I needed to focus on the work. And so I would arrive at my professional job at 3 o'clock in the morning to ensure that I could take care of my personal hygiene. I would brush my teeth. I would take my showers. I would work out. And I would do well at work, because I can tell you that even as I was going through my storm, I was still performing on the job. That year, I was first on the promotion list that year. Nobody at work had any idea what was going on at home. And I wasn't sad because I was focused on the work. So I would leave work and then I would go home and I would continue the work through the night. Also at play here was I had my sons who were coming to visit in about 3 weeks. And I needed to make sure that they had a nice warm home to settle in for the holiday break over Christmas. And so I got my butt up and I went to Lowe's. I had to replace the toilet. I paid $60. I didn't know how to replace the toilet, but I knew I needed to because I needed working plumbing in the home. I watched some YouTube, I read some manuals, and we don't always know what we're capable of doing until we're put into a position to where we have to do it. I had to do it. I didn't just lay on the floor during the storm, I picked myself up. What are you focused on during the storm? Because what I discovered, what I unveiled is that it's what you're focused on during the storm that's killing you. It's not the storm itself. What are you focused on? A lot of times we get so wrapped up in the elements and what's taking place with the wind, the water, the storm, the electricity, the lightning, the thunder, that we are just frozen in place and stuck somewhere. What are you focused on in the storm? When we look at biblical examples like Peter when he walked on water, well, guess what? He was walking on water until he started focusing on the water itself. He was focused on the wrong thing. So what are you focused on during the storm? Because that is what is killing you. It's not the storm itself. And so as we get to a place of making progress in life, as we get to a place of sustained success, as we get to a place of discovery on purpose, then we have to understand what we're supposed to focus on during the storm. Because like I said, I wasn't sad, I wasn't depressed as I went through it because I was focused on the work. I was focused on what I was supposed to do, and I went to work and I did it. And I had trust and faith that everything was gonna be okay. I knew that, hey God, if you can get me out of that situation that I was in, the situation I felt was killing me, if you can get me out of that, if you could deliver me from that, then I could survive anything. I knew that this was a new beginning. And so I didn't just lay on the floor, I picked myself up and I did the work. And so no matter what the storm is that you're going through in life, because we're all gonna go through a storm, you have to get to a place where you're able to focus on what you're supposed to be focused on, but don't get so distracted by everything taking place around you that you lose your focus. What are you focused on in the storm? And I would tell you that as I'm going through the process, I was realizing, I was unveiling things about myself that I just didn't know before. I was seeing different levels of strength, different levels of clarity and understanding that I didn't know existed there before. And I was becoming a better human. I was becoming a better man, a better father, a better soldier, a better everything. I picked up a camera for the first time professionally during that time frame. I started a business during that time frame. So many things happened as I was going through the storm because I just focused on the work. And I remember during that holiday season, my sons and I, we laid warm in a bed because eventually I was able to get a bed. Eventually I was able to get couches. Eventually I was able to get a television. It took time and I had to focus on the work, but eventually I got there. And there's something on the other side, because I can tell you that ever since then, like, life has been great. And that's how I know God is good. My wife and I bought and sold 2 properties. We just invested in a 3rd property at this point. I focused on the work and I picked myself up. And so it's High Energy Tuesday, y'all. Y'all continue to get after it. I love y'all and I'm out.